Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the Sigurd Archdiocese for Silent Death. Odin worshippers in space. They even have a longboat. I always like the idea of Odin worshippers in space. The Sword Worlds are kind of like that in Traveler, but these guys actually do worship Odin. It's a legitimate religion. I really like that. Silent Death was a great game that was published from 93 or 95 till around 2001. It had a small but loyal following. I was part of that. And I'm just going to take a quick look at the source book here and let me know what you think. So today on page 121, Sigurd Archdiocese. Okay, today on page 121, we're taking a look at a Silent Death house, the Sigurd Archdiocese. This is the book of the influence of the expanding Church of Odin. Kind of interesting. Vikings in space is always something I've kind of liked. The Sword Worlders in Traveler would be the closest to that. But I thought the Sigurd Archdiocese was a pretty interesting idea. I think a lot of the stuff in here was taken from the Star Vikings, the Sword Worlders. This book was published in 1997. As a quick aside, in these videos that I'm doing for Patreon, just these are keying off of older videos I've done on my YouTube channel, page 121, which of course you know about. So if you want to see the core rules for how to play Silent Death, I have a video there, along with 2 or 3 other videos about the Silent Death universe. And all these are going to do is add on to that. They're all together in a playlist. The reason I'm doing these here is, frankly, I've had a request for a couple requests for Silent Death, and these did not prove to be popular on the main channel. Silent Death was a bit of an obscure game back in the day, with a loyal but not tremendously large following, and it ran from the early to mid 90s till around 2000. I played it quite a bit at that old hobby store I played at, 3D House of Games. I loved Silent Death. We still trot this out every once in a while and play it. I have not done anything with the Sigurd Archdiocese in years, though. So basically, we get the introduction, and I've already covered the intro and the basic universe in other videos, so I'm not going to do a ton of it here. Yeah, I invite you to take a look at those other videos. And as I said, those videos didn't prove to be very popular to the populace at large. That's why I'm doing them here. So the revelation, Gunther Gutmann was born in the mountains of Scandinavia in Imperial 426. And he was just an ordinary guy, and he liked to mountain climb. And here's a picture of him mountain climbing. And as he was climbing, an unexpected storm hit, and gale force winds ripped at him, and anybody else he was with either got separated or perished. And he continued on, and he's climbed, and he reached the summit through all this adversity. He had a vision from Odin, flanked by Thor. And they said, basically, start a church for us, worshiping us. It's your mission in life. Now, there's no way this was cold-induced brain damage or any kind of delusion. It really was a vision. At least that's what Gutmann believed. So he began preaching on Earth when he got down from the mountain and started up his own Church of Odin. They left Earth after a little while because they were not real popular, and they were looking for a new home. And then the brood swarm comes in and wipes out a lot of the inhabited systems, Earth and several others. So the Sigurd Archdiocese is able to flee, and they are once they're out into space, he's rising to power. He's getting a small but powerful group around him, plus his own flotilla of ships. And then the grub swarms attack, and the Vikings say, "Challenge accepted. Off we go. We'll fight the grubs." The grubs, of course, are the night brood, evil insect things that kind of changed this whole from the Space Master universe to the Silent Death universe. One thing I like about ICE is their internal history is pretty consistent. So they used the Thor's hammer, a select wing of elite pilots to fight the grubs, and then the Loki strategy. I'm not going to go a ton into the actual details of it. It's more interesting that there are space Vikings. As the protectors against the grubs, they become very popular on several worlds, and their religion begins to spread. So one thing I liked about these old books is they have, in these little margins, they have fiction. And the fiction will go for a couple of pages. It's kind of neat. And then it talks about the political relations with the other houses of the Silent Death era. There are 12 great houses and a couple lesser houses, and then some other extraterrestrial creatures. And we'll go into that a little bit. House Kolos and House Red Star, what the relationships are with those two. Tokugawa, the Yokushan War World, Kashmir Commonwealth. I like these source books. They're pretty well written. They're a fun, quick, easy read. We get a look at everybody's perspective. So the Hibernian Freehold, Asp Technocracy, Datasphere, and Unkulunkan Kulu Archipelago, Garage Void Protectorate, Lucha's Utopia, which is kind of the party boys of space. And then we get a nice breakdown, a timeline of the actual existence of the house and what Gutman himself did to grow this religion, which he is a true believer in, by the way. This is no kind of scam. He believes he had the vision. He believes that they are around to worship the ancient Norse gods, specifically Odin and Thor. Again, it's just neat to have space Vikings. And I realize that the Sword Worlders and Traveler are not quite space Vikings, but they're about the closest you're going to find. And then the new weapons. One thing I liked about all these source books is they had new weapons for each house. So this weapon would belong to the house, but there was nothing to stop you from having one of their ships be captured or destroyed, and then use the technology for your own group, because there are shipbuilding rules in the main rule book for Silent Death. And this gives us Gauss technology, which if you follow my channel, you know I'm a fan of Gauss. And then we get a breakdown of the famous wings of the Sigurd Archdiocese. Thor's Hammer, I talked about them a little bit already. And all the other different groups. So there's a lot of role-playing that can be done with this game. And there's a lot of setting up your squadron to be something other than just a bunch of ships in space. You're fighting for your particular group. In this case, you're a bunch of zealots who are fighting for the worship of Odin. It's just an interesting idea. And then we get into the ships. I love that each of these books has ships that are peculiar to each house. And again, there's no reason you can't just take these ships and use them for another house. Have it be captured technology. Captain, our information indicates that Klingons are now using Romulan design from the old Star Trek series. It had nothing to do with the fact that they had the Romulan birds of war lying around, the models. They just wrote in one line in the story, and there you go. So the birds of prey. I'm sorry, I said birds of war. They were birds of prey. So all the different ships that come with this. Now, Silent Death is a dead game. It's been dead for years, but it's still got an active presence on the web. And the owner of the copyright has been talking for years about releasing a new set of rules. And he pops up periodically and says, hey, I've got some rules that I want to bring out, and I'm playtesting them now, but nothing's come of it. It's been 5 or 6 years and nothing's really come of it. One time I had actually been in contact with him about our group playtesting some of the rules. Nothing came of that. I find that unfortunate, because I think Silent Death still has a viable future. So now we're getting into I love the longboat. I just love the idea of a longboat in space. I just hear the immigrant song blasting away on the loudspeakers as the ship comes in to attack. I like this. I like the Vikings in space shtick. Always did. And then we get the fleet composition. And Silent Death, of course, is a point-based system. And so here's the point base value for the ship. Then you have to pay for each weapon, upgrade, and then all the crew that you would need. Silent Death is a nice, complete system, and at one time had a pretty devoted following. And there were tournaments that you could attend, and the 3D House of Games had a couple of sanctioned tournaments that I played in, and it was just a fun game. We had a guy there, I forget his name, Paul, I think his name was, who was an actual Silent Death tournament adjudicator, where he would actually set up the event, and it was an official Silent Death sanctioned event. I played in several of those. So there we go. And then in each of these books, too, you get scenarios. So various scenarios for the Sigurd, scenarios, and what ships you would use, and what the core rules are for fulfilling these scenarios. So I love how these books were done. I used to love getting my hands on a new, Silent Death book. I miss this game a lot, and I would still actively play it if it was new. That being said, the good news is all of this is available for affordable pricing on DriveThruRPG. I'll attach a link to it. Also, the website is still active. I'll attach a link to that as well, where you can still buy some of the ships. You can buy a lot of the ships. And now here we get a look at some of the general ships that have been refitted for use with this particular faction, Sigurd Archdiocese, and then we get a look at their worlds. The worlds, you don't get a lot of information on the various worlds in this game because, let's face it, it's a tabletop combat game. There's certainly some role-playing you can add to this, but it's tabletop combat for the most part. The worlds are literally just backdrop. And then some slang or terminology that they use, and then an ad for the fine Rafa miniatures and the back of the book. $14 this cost me in 1997. I used to jump on these the instant they came out. So there you have it, just a quick look at a fun supplement to a fun game. And like I said, I'll throw a few links, or I'm not sure if I can throw links on Patreon. I'll see if I can. If I can't, then it's just DriveThruRPG, just type in Silent Death, and then just Google Silent Death RPG, and you'll find the site. So I'll try to link them, but if I can't, that's how you can find them. So that's it. Again, thank you, patrons, for the support of the channel. This one's for you, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.